Some mean people in the comments section of our exceptional Cultaholic wrestling YouTube videos like to put a dampener on things by writing hurtful stuff like, "What is the point of this video?" or "You guys suck and you just rip off other more successful videos. Why don't you just go to hell?" Well, I'm nothing if not a man of the people, and if you want pointless videos ripping off other somewhat more successful ones, then that's just what I'll give you. So, inspired by a great concept from fellow internet sensation and close personal friend Austin McConnell, I give you a solid 20 minutes of useless professional wrestling information. You can't talk about professional wrestling without first mentioning retired former WWE chairman Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon was raised as Vinnie Lupton, growing up with his mother and stepfather Leo Lupton. When Leo Lupton passed away, Vinnie changed his name to the same as his biological father's, Vincent James McMahon, or Vince McMahon Sr. Speaking of Vince McMahon Jr., he shares a birthday, August 24th, with the late Rocky Johnson, father of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Ahmed Johnson, who worked alongside The Rock in WWE, never received his earned WWE title shot against then-champion Shawn Michaels on the Raw following SummerSlam 1996 due to an injury he suffered beforehand. On the same day, rival promotion WCW taped 2 episodes of their syndicated TV show WCW Saturday Night at Center Stage in Atlanta, Georgia. AEW star Anna Jay was born in Brunswick, Georgia, about a 4.5-hour drive from Atlanta. The Undertaker has defeated every member of Evolution in singles matches at WrestleMania. WrestleMania 19 was the first time in the show's history that the competitors in the main event match, Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle, used their real names. American pop star Bruno Mars, born Peter Gene Hernandez, was nicknamed Bruno by his father when he was a toddler due to his resemblance to former WWE champion Bruno Sammartino. Going back to Brock Lesnar, his first WWE loss was at the hands of Chris Kanyon at an October 6, 2001 house show. Did you know that Kanyon revived his old WCW Mortis character for a few WWE house shows in the summer of 2003? While former WWE announcer Mike Adamle was roundly mocked for mispronouncing Jeff Hardy as Jeff Harvey at the 2008 Royal Rumble, Jeff Hardy actually wrestled under that name in a loss to Jim Neidhart on the December 3rd, 1994 episode of Superstars. Between 2005 and 2010, the last person eliminated from the Royal Rumble match went on to have a world title match at WrestleMania anyway. Rowdy Roddy Piper never wrestled a match at SummerSlam. Piper and Ric Flair were the oldest wrestlers to win the WWE Tag Team titles when they captured the belts in 2006. Hot Rod was 52 at the time, while Slick Rick was 56. They were also the last titles either man held in their illustrious careers. Ric Flair has only wrestled on even-numbered WrestleManias 8, 18, 20, 22, and 24, though he did wrestle in the dark match at 23. Several wrestlers have acted as bodyguards for those within the entertainment industry. Sheamus was once the bodyguard for U2's Bono, while Brodus Clay was the bodyguard for Snoop Dogg. The Warlord and Shad Gaspard also worked as bodyguards for 50 Cent and P. Diddy, respectively. Vampiro was the bodyguard for sham pop group Milli Vanilli. Macho Man Randy Savage hired Brian Crush Adams to act as his bodyguard while touring to promote his 2003 novelty rap album, Be a Man. Incidentally, Randy Savage holds more victories than anyone over the Ultimate Warrior, with 46! None of them were by pinfall. An action figure of Al Snow featuring a small mannequin's head was withdrawn and banned from sale from all Walmart stores in the United States in 1999 after someone mistakenly believed that the head was a severed female's head and complained that it promoted violence against women. The name Simon Dean was a rib on former WWE wrestler and road agent Dean Malenko, whose real name is Dean Simon. Sid is the only wrestler to win the WWE title on Raw and the WCW title on Nitro. Sid also competed at just 2 WrestleManias, 8 and 13, both times in the main event. Kevin Nash also performed at only 2 WrestleManias, neither time in the main event. Scott Hall/Razor Ramon never competed in a Royal Rumble match, but the fake version portrayed by Rick Bogner did. The real Razor Ramon's first televised opponent was a journeyman called Paul Van Dale, the father of WWE star Carmella. Bobby Eaton is considered one of wrestling's great workers, but beautiful Bobby never had formal training and essentially taught himself. Former WWE composer Jim Johnston sang the lyrics to the original SmackDown theme after he couldn't find a suitable singer. He made them purposefully unintelligible and had fans contact him requesting lyric sheets which he could not provide. If you play the Brood's theme backwards, it says, "I buried Paul, walk with me." Jim Johnston was a big Beatles fan. Failed WCW tag team The Ding Dongs were portrayed by journeyman wrestlers Richard Sartain and Jim Evans. Jim Herd, the man who came up with the idea for the Ding Dongs, had no prior wrestling experience. When WCW made him executive vice president, he was previously a regional manager for Pizza Hut. Simon Cowell was the executive producer of WrestleMania the album. Ricky Steamboat's real name is Richard Blood. His younger brother, Victor Blood, wrestled as Vic Steamboat. Neither one is related to Sammy Steamboat, though Ricky was sometimes billed as his son or nephew due to the resemblance. Tito Santana once wrestled under the name Richard Blood. Tito Santana was the first person to win a match at WrestleMania, beating the Executioner at WrestleMania 1, though he would lose on the next 7 consecutive Manias. On the subject of Tito Santana, Mexican wrestling promotion AAA introduced a wrestler called Tito Santana in 2005, though he bore no relation or resemblance to the original. Barry Horowitz used to wrestle as Bret Hart with 2 T's in the 1980s before changing it to Jack Hart. The actual Bret Hart was the first ever entrant in the Royal Rumble. Memphis wrestling great Austin Idol, aka the Universal Heartthrob, turned down a WWE offer in the 1980s due to his fear of flying. Idol had survived the plane crash that killed fellow wrestler Bobby Shane. Shane McMahon began his WWE as referee Shane Stevens in the late 1980s. Shane's mother Linda, by the way, is the only McMahon to appear on WWE TV but not wrestle a match or hold a title in the company. Seth Rollins was the first WWE champion to be born after the first WrestleMania took place. Appropriately enough, his first WWE title win took place at the Showcase of the Immortals. Speaking of WrestleMania, Vince McMahon was going to call it the Colossal Tussle before ring announcer Howard Finkel coined the term WrestleMania. Glenn Jacobs wrestled on 3 consecutive Survivor Series pay-per-views under different gimmicks. In 1995, he was Dr. Isaac Yankem, DDS. In 96, he was the Fake Diesel, and in 97, he was Kane. Former AWA and WCW announcer Lee Marshall was once the voice of Tony the Tiger. He did great! Kurt Angle claims to be the first Olympic gold medalist in WWE history, but during the 1970s in the then WWF, 2-time gold medalist in judo Wim Ruska competed for the promotion. The first match under the WWE banner was Jazz defending her women's championship against Trish Stratus in a no DQ match on the May 6, 2002 episode of Raw. Kevin Von Erich is the only Von Erich brother to see his 34th birthday. Kerry Von Erich, along with Nikita Koloff, was under consideration to play Ivan Drago in Rocky IV, but was passed over following an unsuccessful audition. WCW Cruiserweight Blitzkrieg retired in 1999, the same year he won the Wrestling Observer Newsletter's Rookie of the Year award. While temporarily retired from wrestling in the late 90s, WWE Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels worked as a high school sports reporter for a TV station in San Antonio, Texas. On the subject of Michaels, he is the only WWE Triple Crown winner to forfeit the WWE Intercontinental and Tag Team titles. Oh, Michaels is also ambidextrous. Kurt Hennig nicknamed Shawn the Heartbreak Kid after hearing the phrase in country singer Chris LeDoux's cover of the Don Williams song Shot of Love. Actor and one-time WCW heavyweight champion David Arquette donated his entire WCW paycheck to the then recently paralyzed WWE star Darren Drozdov, as well as to the families of the late Brian Pillman and Owen Hart. Brian Pillman had over 30 throat surgeries before the age of 6. Brian Pillman's wife Melanie Pillman once dated the Ultimate Warrior. Jim Hellwig was the first choice to play the Big Van Vader character in New Japan, but he decided to sign with WWE and they brought in Leon White instead. Vader never wrestled on WCW Nitro, despite being featured on the show's original intro. The Frog Splash was innovated by Mexican wrestler La Fiera and later adopted by Eddie Guerrero in tribute to his late tag partner Art Barr, who helped popularize the move. Eddie's father Gore Story Guerrero, meanwhile, invented the camel clutch, calling it the La Della Cabello, roughly translated as horse-mounting choke. Oh, and Mondo Guerrero invented the moonsault. Yes, the Guerreros were very good at wrestling, thanks for noticing. Greg the Hammer Valentine married his wife Julie on Valentine's Day, obviously. Rey Mysterio Jr. was the stunt double for Robert Englund, aka Freddy Krueger, in the 2003 horror movie Freddy vs. Jason. Mysterio made his WWE debut in the summer of 2002, but didn't win a pay-per-view match until the 2004 Royal Rumble. AJ Styles' real name is Alan Jones. He and his wife Wendy have 4 children with the initials AJ, 3 sons, AJ, Avery, and Albie, and a daughter Annie. The Great Khali was signed by WCW in late 2000, but never made a televised appearance for them before the promotion closed down in March of 2001. From July 2001 to January 2002, only Canadians won the WWE Intercontinental title, starting with Lance Storm, then Edge, then Christian, then Edge again, then Test, then back to Edge. The movie $1 Million Arm is partially based on WWE star Veer Mahan, who was signed to baseball team the Pittsburgh Pirates after winning a pitching competition on the reality TV show The $1 Million Arm in 2008. Jimmy Yang has never won a title in his professional wrestling career, despite working for WCW, WWE, TNA, All Japan, Ring of Honor, MLW, and various other promotions. Mick Foley's sole TNA title run lasted longer than his 3 WWE title runs combined. He held the TNA title for 67 days, while his 3 combined WWE title runs lasted 47 days, only 36 of which are actually recognized by WWE. Foley was also on the same high school wrestling team as actor Kevin James. Cody Rhodes is the only WWE wrestler to simultaneously win and lose a title by beating himself in a match when he turned on Tag Team Championship partner Hardcore Holly and sided with Ted DiBiase Jr. at Night of Champions 2008. Triple H tore his quad for the second time on the same date he returned to WWE TV from his first one, January 7th. January 7th is also the date of the last televised ECW event, 2001's Guilty as Charged pay-per-view. C.W. Anderson celebrated his 30th birthday on the night. Easy Money / Jason Jett is the only wrestler who wrestled on the final pay-per-views of both ECW and WCW. Ric Flair vs. Sting took place on the first and last episodes of WCW Nitro. Sting was also Flair's last opponent in TNA. John Cena's first movie appearance was in the background of the WCW vehicle Ready to Rumble, which was released in 2000. That was the same year WCW lost $65 million. Terry Funk made his professional wrestling debut the same year The Undertaker was born, 1965. Despite being regarded as a Texas wrestling family, the Funks are actually from Hammond, Indiana. Stone Cold Stunner consists of 3 words and 16 letters. Steve Austin wrestled Dustin Rhodes at 3 consecutive Halloween Havoc pay-per-views in title matches. In 1991 for the TV title, 1992 for the tag team titles, and 1993 for the US title. I share a birthday with Nathan Jones, but I've never served time in an Australian prison or wrestled Shannon Moore. Stephanie McMahon wrestled 6 days before her real-life wedding to Triple H against her own father in an I Quit match at the No Mercy 2003 pay-per-view. Believe it or not, Vince approached the happy couple about airing their wedding live on pay-per-view. They rejected that proposal. Billy Kidman's last professional wrestling match was in 2008 against Afa Jr., the son of his original trainer. Former WWE star Ricky Ortiz played in the XFL prior to signing his developmental contract. Former WWE World Heavyweight Champion Daniel Bryan is smaller than 4 of the last 5 WWE Light Heavyweight Champions: X-Pac, Jeff Hardy, Jerry Lynn, and Dean Malenko. The first word Daniel Bryan spoke on WWE television was yes. The first word Test spoke on WWE television was test. Sable was the first woman to be on the cover of Playboy twice in the same year. Her first issue reissue was one of the biggest selling of all time, with 1 million copies sold. They came and went very quickly. Sable is also undefeated at WrestleMania with a 3-0 record. El Torito has a WWE win percentage of 91.78. Until CM Punk and John Cena's match from Money in the Bank 2011, every WWE match rated 5 stars by Dave Meltzer featured either Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart. Back to the Future 3 was released on the same day Bo Dallas was born, May 25th, 1990. Matt Hardy strongly dislikes mustard, but he loves English muffins. Matt once sent a tape to WCW management looking to get signed. They didn't sign him, but they did trademark his wrestling name, High Voltage, and gave it to a tag team. PNUs and Mantar are first cousins. Lex Luger came up with the name The Click for Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Shawn Michaels, and Sean Waltman. Mark the Undertaker Calloway's first match was against Bruiser Brody. Calloway, as Texas Red, lost. Vince McMahon owned a 47-foot sports yacht which he named Sexy Bitch. Paul Big Show White was a member of his high school cheerleading team. He joined it to spite the football coach because he didn't like him. Though they portrayed cheerleaders on television, none of the Spirit Squad members actually had any legit cheerleading experience. Alexa Bliss, however, was on the cover of American Cheerleader magazine in 2008. The writer of Gremlins 2 is called Charlie Haas. Nitro Girls Fire, Spice, Paisley, Tigress, and Che teamed up to form a pop group, Diversity 5, as WCW was going out of business. They released one single. Kane participated in the Royal Rumble match in 4 different decades, as did Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Rikishi and Tonga Kid are twin brothers and both have twin offspring. Makan Singh, the name used by Mike Bastian Booger Shaw earlier in his career, translates as Butter Lion. Famed comedian and actor Patrice O'Neal was briefly a member of the WWE creative team during the Attitude Era. Here's a weird coincidence for you. Ryback lost to Mark Henry in the second match at WrestleMania 29, then wrestled John Cena for the WWE title at the next pay-per-view. Kane, alongside the New Age Outlaws, lost to The Shield in the second match at WrestleMania 30, then wrestled Daniel Bryan for the WWE title at the next pay-per-view. Seth Rollins lost to Randy Orton in the second match at WrestleMania 31, then wrestled Randy Orton in a WWE title match at the next pay-per-view. And AJ Styles lost to Chris Jericho in the second match at WrestleMania 32, then wrestled Roman Reigns for the WWE title at the next pay-per-view. See, that was a weird coincidence, wasn't it? That's the wall, brother! Chris Nowinski was the first Harvard graduate to wrestle for WWE. David Otunga was the second. Legendary luchador Blue Demon never removed his mask in public and was buried wearing it. The Insane Clown Posse wrestled one match for Ring of Honor during the company's first year at the Glory by Honor 2002 event. ICP and their fans were so badly received by the ROH faithful that the company decided to cut the bout from the show's home video release. WrestleMania 2 was held on a Monday. Viscera was the first African American to win a title at WrestleMania when he bagged the Hardcore title at WrestleMania 16. He held it for a little less than 7 minutes. Penny Banner, a famous female wrestler from the 1950s to the 1970s, went on 5 dates with Elvis Presley. Elvis was a big wrestling fan and would frequently attend shows in Memphis. Chris Christopherson's son Jody was signed to a WWE developmental deal and competed under the name Garrett Dillon. Jim Ross and former TNA star ODB both have their own range of barbecue sauce. WCW power plant trainer Dwayne Bruce, aka Sarge, told Dave Bautista he would never make it in the wrestling business. Both members of the TNA tag team America's Most Wanted had brief runs in WWE. Chris Harris, who wrestled in WWE as Braden Walker, and James Storm both have 2-0 records in the company, though Harris lost a non-televised dark match to Shelton Benjamin. Mean Gene Okerlund's son Todd played in the NHL, so did Chris Jericho's dad. Bret Hart's brother Smith named one of his daughters Satanic Ecstasy Heart, or Satania. Smith's mother Helen refused to call her that and gave her the name Tanya instead. The Hitman's niece sadly passed away in 2022. Before getting into the wrestling business, Eric Bischoff was a model and did works for brands like Target. In WCW, Mark Jindrak was briefly given the gimmick of an evil basketball player called Basket Case. It was far from a slam dunk, and he reverted to using his own name shortly after. The cast of Jackass were going to be heavily featured at SummerSlam 2007, including several of the cast members wrestling in a handicap match against Umaga, but they pulled out of the event following the Benoit family tragedy. Billy Gunn was a legit rodeo cowboy before getting into the wrestling business. He also wrestled for WCW as jobber Kip Montana years before debuting in WWE. Jake Roberts and Rick Rude's WWE title tournament match at WrestleMania 4 is the only Mania match to go to a time limit draw. On the April 8, 2002 episode of Raw, Spike Dudley pinned William Regal in just 3 seconds to capture the European Championship, the fastest title change in WWE history. Relic is killer spelled backwards. So there you have it, 20 minutes of completely useless professional wrestling information. I hope you're all happy. Well, you never know what's going to come up during a pub quiz, I suppose.